All right, guys, we are here. Hope and pray everybody is doing good. You know, I like to always start off with that. For those who don't know, I know last week I was on. I'm originally from Greenwood, South Carolina. Please continue to keep those affected by storms in your prayers. We have people even here in Columbia, but all in those areas, some people still don't have power, water. Some people had a lot of things that they lost. So, guys, please keep everyone in your prayers. If you're able to give or donate, please do so. Okay. All right. So, I am so honored today because I have the lovely attorney Abigail Rogers on. Guys, I want to just start off, if I can. First of all, you look so lovely in your hat. First of all,
Thank you.
so speaking of without power, attorney Abigail Rogers does not have power in majority of her house, and she still came on tonight. So I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. Guys, I just want to just give you just a brief background of attorney Rogers. She was the first African American female ever to be elected to the judiciary in the history of South Carolina. I get a little tongue tied. My apologies.
That's me too. That's
And
okay.
also a South Carolina family court judge. She's a former assistant solicitor. She's also a former Benedict College professor of criminal justice. She's currently right now tutoring and teaching law school graduates to pass the bar. So if you have an attorney, she's probably taught them. That's how they got that bar in the first place. Um, and now so she has her own private practice right now, what she's doing. And she is also married to the associate pastor, G.J. Kennedy, and they have a one blended family of 4 children, one daughter and 3 sons. So on top of having that big family, she's doing all of that too. And
Just
she
like
came
you.
on and took some time out for me today. And you all, thank you so much, Attorney Rogers. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Angelina. I am just like you, trying to balance family and work and children and paying bills, all of that. My husband's phone that's going off. And I just wanted to say we are here with no air condition, and and I'm on
Oh
the second floor, so you know how it is when the heat rises, fans don't work, windows don't work. So please excuse my appearance. Usually I look more lawyerly or more, professional, but today is just please accept this. I will make it up to you another time.
no, you look gorgeous now. So to see you all laurally, that means you must be decked down because you look beautiful. I don't think they sweat on you. You look awesome, and again, I really appreciate you getting on, especially dealing with the current circumstances and such. I really greatly appreciate it. Guys,
Thank you.
if you have been thinking about renting out, if you have property that you're thinking about renting, if you currently are renting, if you're a tenant renting, if you're looking to investing, guys, this is the person that you need to know. If you are in South Carolina, do you practice all over South Carolina? Just ask me
Yes. Oh,
quickly.
yes. Yes,
All right,
I do.
if you're in
Well,
South
all over the
Carolina
state.
and you all over the state and you
All
need
over
an
the state.
attorney that can be able to make some things happen, I have to. Oh yeah, going right. Okay, no, this way because it does. This lady right here to my right is the bomb. I'm going old school 90s. That's all I can sum it up for. She is the bomb in how she knows about tenant laws and everything that you need to know. And so I am just so grateful that I do know you, Abigail. She was introduced to me by a former client, and we have been in touch ever since. Whenever I have clients that are tenant situations, landlord situations, she is the only person who I send their information to. She's the only person's information that I send to the clients because of her knowledge and what she has done and what I see that she's doing. And so, Abigail, thank you so very
Thank
much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so what we're going to kind of dive into, guys, is to talk about tenant laws, because, and also if you wanted to chime in on this too, Attorney Rogers, you know, in my field, I see it all the time where we're dealing with a lot of people who own properties and they're having situations with their tenants and vice versa. And guys, we really felt it was good to get you someone on to show you the legal ramification of things, which your legal rights are, what it means, and what you can do to really avoid a lot of situations that we're seeing. You probably see it on a day-to-day basis, definitely. Um, I'm seeing it more and more, which I really feel that it was something that was necessary. Would you agree?
Yes, I do agree. Yeah.
All right. Oh no, you go ahead. You go
Yeah,
ahead.
okay. I will take any questions, and Angelina, I will pause so that you can tell me when people have questions about
Okay.
anything. But my practice has mainly been lately, just because there's a need in landlord tenant, and I try to most of us try to specialize so that we wouldn't be all over the place. So I don't do family court anymore, although my background is being a family court judge. I do landlord tenant, I do small business, and I do probate, estate, and trusts. And you learn that when doing generational wealth, when you want to build your generational wealth, it works hand in hand with landlord tenant, and it doesn't look like it does, but it does, because people have property. And just like the old days, people want to leave their property to their children there. So I'll pause in between, Angelina, because you know I can. Oh, and I'm not giving legal advice. So Angelina, you have to tell them not giving legal advice, just general
Yes.
information, and sometimes I'll refer to my cases.
Exactly. So disclaimer, guys. You know I'm a disclaimer queen. This is not legal advice. This is not to be taken as legal advice. Should you need attorney representation, I will be putting Attorney Rogers' information at the end of the segment for you to be able to reach out for a consultation, or you can reach out to me directly. But this is not to be taken. Don't you go in that court at your magistrate office saying that Attorney Rogers and Angelina told you to do
Do that.
this. Situations in hand is what this is. And again,
That's
if
right.
you have, please put them in the chat. We are putting questions. We already have people saying hello, just to kind of show you, Attorney Rogers. I'll also put the questions down here, depending if something that's real perplexed. Can you see it on your screen?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Awesome. So we already have Lionel Rich. That's actually my stepfather. My coming up telling you hello.
Hello.
All right.
Thank you.
So one of the things that I want to talk about, we got some questions, and then also we can kind of dwell a little bit more. But one of the things that I want to ask is that, could you go over the basic rights and responsibilities of landlords and the tenants in South Carolina?
Sure. I'm going to talk about it generally, not specifically, unless there's a specific question. The first
Okay.
thing is the land in South Carolina, all land deals should be in writing. So the first thing when you're a landlord is, and I'm going to take landlords first, okay, is most people, a lot of people don't, Angelina, but you should have a written lease for your tenant. And some people don't, and if when you don't, the rules change in the law. But in that lease, you should put down exactly what you expect from the tenant. What kind of money you expect? Do you expect it monthly? How long is the lease? Is it weekly? Is it a month? Are they going to be there a year? And it's important that you put on the lease who is in the home. One person may be the tenant, but then the tenant may have children. So you put down there the names of the children for safety's sake. So you need to know who's in your home, and you need to know when the lease ends. And when the lease ends, if they don't renew, what happens? Does it then shift to month with an increase in pay, increase in rent? You have to specifically state out exactly what it is that you want the tenant to do. Most people do not do that. And that is what leads to trouble and leads them to the court system. That's generally, if the lease must be signed by the tenant, must be signed by the landlord. And if I can back up a minute, Angelina, and I'll pause too. a lot of the landlord-tenant problems are starting these days, and you and I know, from people who have kind hearts, not people who are business people who say, well, I'm going to manage some rental property. No, people who have kind hearts and say, you know what? I have a house over here my mom stayed in. I'm just going to rent it out. And then they go and they find someone, they don't do a background check, who gives them a story and they let the person move in. And the people give you a tip. People are very nice when you're just getting in and
Mhm.
you have a nice tenant and a nice landlord. But the minute something goes awry, that's when problems start. So generally what I just stated was everything, all provisions must be in writing, must be signed by both the tenant and the landlord, and they must understand exactly what their responsibilities are. That's for the landlord. Any questions there?
No, and and those are the things that we see a lot when we're talking to clientele, and it's like, hey, when is this going to effect? When does it end? Are you on a month to month? And a lot
Right,
of times too, it's like with the landlords, tenants, you need to make sure that you understand too what your lease is as well. Because I'll
right.
have some clients who feel that they're, oh, well, Angelina, I have until this day to be out. And then when they go in, I say, hey, well, make sure you double check with your lease, double check your landlord, double check with your lease. Turns out, Angelina, I thought I had to be out by February. Turns out I actually have until the end of January 1st. I mean, January 31st. And so it's
Right.
important to make sure that all those things are in writing, like Attorney Rogers says, and that everybody is reading that. Because what we get is at the end, they want us to figure it out. Well, or they want you to figure it out.
Right, right. And it
Attorney Rogers,
wasn't
you got to figure it out what's supposed to happen.
right. And there some tenants feel, and with the tenant, that was the landlord's part. When you get a place, then know exactly what is in the place. Is there a refrigerator? Do you supply the refrigerator? Does the landlord supply the refrigerator? Is it air conditioned? Don't assume that every house is air conditioned. Don't assume that every house is heated. But by law, it should be heated. But you don't have to have an air condition, even though in South Carolina you should, but you have to have heat. Make sure you understand who's to pay for the water, who's to pay for the electricity, when is it due, and make sure as a tenant you understand what happens when you don't pay the rent. The law states you have 5 days to be late. After that, the landlord can go to magistrate's court and have you evicted unless you work it out with the landlord. You can never, ever withhold your rent from the landlord. The law won't allow you. You must pay the landlord. And you hear some people say, well, this wasn't fixed and this and lamp fell out. We're right. But there are avenues for that. But you can't withhold the rent. And landlords by chance by cannot turn off your electricity and your water. So the law, it protects both the landlord and the tenant. So I'll pause there to see if that sunk in, because I kind of talk kind of fast sometimes.
Oh no, you're doing fine. You're doing awesome. And that's something that people they don't realize. I had a situation a while. This was, oh my gosh, this was years ago, where landlord went and took the thermostat covers off. So
Right.
you couldn't turn off the air. And the person called. I was like, you gotta put the thermostats back up there. And see, here's the thing, as an agent, we can't go through and evict, because a lot of times people are like, okay, I have this tenant, I need you to come in. Like, hey, we cannot do that. This is
No.
where they need to either as a landlord, you have to do it. My suggestion, and what I'm going to always tell clients is, please get an attorney involved, because
Yeah.
each area, I don't know what they're called. I know different counties. I forgot what they're called. The different sections of the county. Here we have Pontiac, and then also Dentsville.
Yeah.
Um, just because thing says Columbia does not mean that you go to one court to get things done.
Right.
And so
Right.
when it comes to legal matters, I'm going to always tell people, get an attorney. It
Yes.
just makes it. When you get an attorney, guys, people who would not make a move, they make moves. You know, landlords that wouldn't respond, they respond. Tenants that
Right.
wouldn't respond, they respond. It just makes it easy when you get an attorney. People like it, but I'm telling you, it's just you can't go wrong.
The one thing we
Oh,
attorneys laugh at sometimes is, did you have a question, Angelina? I
oh,
cut you off.
you go ahead. You know, I got my list of questions, but I like doing this too, just letting it flow so you can be able to.
Some of the attorneys and I laugh because people don't want to hire attorneys because they have to pay us. Yes, I often say we are not free. I'm kind-hearted, but I'm not free. So they'll begin to try and do the work themselves. And we attorneys talk and say that they'll look at Google and they'll get Google law, and Google does not have law specific to that jurisdiction. It'll generalize. And so you'll look online just to try to save you some money, to keep from getting the attorney. Then you'll find out you did something wrong. Then you end up having to go to the attorney. And we attorneys say, you should have come to us in the first place there. So because oftentimes you already have half-baked the cake, and you bring a half-baked cake to us, and you want us to try and undo what you did when you could have simply just come to us in the first place there. So that's what a problem is. And Angelina, you're right. Each place has a different jurisdiction, has a different place to go. We have so many magistrates. Jurisdiction for evictions lie with magistrates, county magistrates. So you have to know where you are located to know where you go. People from Pontiac don't come over to Upper Township Magistrate or go to Columbia Magistrate. You have to know where your magistrate office is, and that's where you begin.
Exactly. And you try to Google that all day long, guys, but that's when you need to have an attorney, because the time that you're taking to find that out, you got timelines in those magistrates that you have to abide by. And before you know it, you miss a day. Guess what? They're gonna tell you, oh, you gotta start all over again.
Oh yeah. Oh
You gotta
yes.
start over the place. And you can't go to them. Well, I was trying to find out where to do it, because those courts, they can't give you legal advice. They just have to make
Yeah.
sure that you abide by the law of that area.
Right. And
Oh,
tenants.
so go ahead.
No, I was just saying tenants have to pay the rent. You have to pay the rent. If you're not going to pay the rent, then you prepare to move out and look at your lease, because the lease may say, give us 30 days notice before you move out, or they'll say a week's notice. You have to know how to move out. Don't destroy tenants. Don't destroy the house because you're mad at the landlord, because you'll open yourself up to more lawsuits. The landlord can come after you to get payment for what you did to the house. Angelina, how many cases have we seen where the people leave and they just destroy the house there? And
Yes.
then many. And while you're in the
Yes.
house, before you paint the house and before you do all kinds of things to the structure, you have to talk to the landlord, because it's the landlord's property. Those are just little things that I have to deal with a lot. And then landlords, you have to keep the place up to par. You have to do the maintenance. So when the tenants tell you, and they should put it in writing, that this needs to be fixed, the landlord has by law about 14 days to get it done. Doesn't have to get to your satisfaction. It has to be done to maintain the property. So the landlord maintains the property, tenant maintains the property. You don't destroy it. Do you have pets? You have to make sure that the landlord knows you're bringing in a dog. Landlords, you have to know whether or not your tenant has a pet. In the county, it's pretty liberal. You can have lots of dogs and chickens and rabbits. In the city, you can't. The magistrate in the county handles evictions in the city also. So you have to, that's why you should go to an attorney, because the attorney can say, okay, you're in the city limits. This is what you can have. You're in the county. This is what you can have. So
And
I'll
we had
slow
somebody.
stop.
But no, I just put down landlords take care of your property. We had a comment. Somebody said, and don't steal the appliances either, because we have seen that. When
It's
we
still a
go,
plan.
if you know you didn't bring that refrigerator, that washer and dryer to that house, don't take it with you. If you know that you did now, the landlord is like, hey, go ahead, because you'll have sometimes situations like, hey, go ahead and take it with you. It's not a problem. But if you know that you did not bring those appliances there, do not take them out with you because you're mad because they're gonna keep your security deposit.
Right.
So let me ask you this: are there anything that homeowners can be able to do? I just tell people, period, honestly, if they're like a lot of my clients that are getting rental properties, I'm telling them, get you a property manager.
Absolutely.
Do not manage property yourselves, because especially if you know somebody, and I tell people this all the time, when there's money involved, it is business. I don't care how close you are. It can be your best friend, your first cousin on your mama's side. They can be whatever that you love them. When there's money involved, you need to keep that separation. And I say that a property management group kind of helps with that. And if not, get you an attorney like Attorney Rogers to be able to help you. Do you help landlords generate leases? Do you have people that require you to do so? Retain you to do so?
Of course, they hire. Right. Of course, they hire me to go over leases with them to make sure the landlord understands the lease, and then sometimes I'll just meet with the tenant to make sure the tenant understands about the lease. So yes, it is best that you include a lawyer. But let me say about property managers. I have a rental property. I have a property manager. We have to pay. Property managers have to be paid too. And they take a percentage, and they're property manager by contract. Money well spent. But you know, Angelina, some of us don't want to pay the little percentage to the property manager because they feel, wrongly so, to get rent, all you have to do is go up and knock on the door and say it's rent time, or they think that the rent is just going to arrive in their mailbox. Not so. There are times when you are going to have to run down your rent, but property managers have a system where they get your rent for you. So I recommend property managers. Just I can't say it. You don't want to do it yourself. It's very naive to think that you can manage your property yourself.
Exactly. And even if it's just one property, guys, I promise you, it's the same as when people hire us to assist them with sales and things. Again, when there's money involved, it takes the personal relationship out. And then both parties know that you're dealing with business. And it's just clear cut. I mean, we used to manage properties. This was long before COVID. And then we end up having, one of the owners was like, I'll go ahead and take it over. Sure enough, after he took it over, guess what happens? You had one tenant who was basically pulling on the heartstrings.
Right, exactly.
Why they couldn't do this, they couldn't do that. And we had already done a full check in regards to, their income, all types of things. And the person kind of took it over. And then some of the tenants did not like that they took it over. They wanted to have a property manager because, again, it takes away the personal aspect, and people, both parties and both sides are wanting to be treated fairly. And so, guys, you can't go wrong. I understand that everyone wants to save, but sometimes with saving that percentage, it causes you a bigger headache too.
Exactly.
And you can't put a price on mine. or your price will be in there.
and Angelina, we have cases you and I have discussed where people want to get violent, or in case I haven't told you, where when it's time to get the tenant out and the tenant hasn't paid, the landlord feels that now I can just go and get my gun or rip off. No, you cannot go and get the tenant out and drag them out. You can't. You can't do that. You will be in trouble.
Yes,
that is why the law is there.
You cannot see your 10 cousins in the van to go get them out your house. You gotta wait on the court. Oh goodness.
You
Now, as
can't
far
look.
as speaking of landlord, we're talking about eviction. Can a landlord evict a tenant for non-payment or other violations? And I guess
Oh,
we kind of talked about the legal process of that is. And is that sometimes where is there ever a situation where the tenant never pays rent or is told to withhold rent by the court in certain things? Have you ever seen
oh,
things of that nature?
yes, but before I get there, one thing I thought about with property managers versus heartstrings. Property managers will do a background check, or and
Yeah.
they will let you know we did a background check on this person. This person's been evicted about 12 times, and but they'll let you make the decision. It's not our recommendation that you take, you know, this person Wanda in, but if you feel that you want to bring Wanda in, then okay, we expect Wanda not to pay us too. Or like some of my clients say they're doing it as a mission for God and they won't do background checks, but then eventually the people don't pay. And the landlord then has to bring the lawyer in because they decided to just say we're just going to help people. I'm all for Angelina and I all for helping people. We really are. But some people will take advantage of you and they will just live in your house and have no intention of paying. So you were asking what, and I wanted to, Angelina, say that there are several ways that tenants, the court can tell the tenants time to leave. First of all, if there's non-payment, or if you violate the lease. If the lease says no dogs, you can't have a dog. If the lease says no smoking in the house, you can't smoke in the house. If the lease says two people, I have this a lot. You can't have your boyfriend move in. This is funny. I don't want to laugh, but if the lease says you can have overnight guests for 2 days, 3 days at the most, you can't move your boyfriend in because you're paying the rent because that violates the lease. So all of
Yep.
those are just terms that have been in leases that the court has said you know what, you violated the lease. You have to go. Overnight guests, you should discuss it with your landlord about it. Don't assume your landlord says it's okay that boyfriend's going to come and live with you. Don't assume that gets you in trouble there. But the one thing I was thinking, two things I was thinking about is the landlord can sell the house while you are in it. And some tenants think that, well, I got to find a place. I don't have to find a place to stay because the landlord gave me a year. The landlord's gone now, and you have new owners. And if the new owners say you have 30 days to leave, you have 30 days to leave. But I didn't mean to cut you off. But that was just something I was dealing with today.
Because that's something, because I have to ask. So we've always been told as agents that if there's an active lease in place, that the new owners have to abide by it. So is that the case? The new owners does not have to abide by the lease?
Well, in my cases, the new owners don't want to abide by the lease and they give the occupant 50, so many days to get out. And the magistrate have sided with the new owners because the new owners say they're going to turn the property into bed and breakfast, turn the property into Airbnb. And they need, or they can go up on the rent. Some ways, sometimes the new owners come in and say, we're going to renegotiate the lease. And we're going to add $1,000. $2,000 is perfectly their prerogative. They may say you can stay there, but we have to increase the rent. Anything can happen when you have the new owners, or the owner of the property could not pay the taxes. Then the property that you're living in went up for tax sale, and then here come people say, you know what? This is our house. They lost it in a tax sale. So all kinds of nuances come in. That's why you need a lawyer.
Now, when you brought up the taxes, it's my foreclosure. I think I told you I used to work in foreclosures for 7 years at a law
Oh,
firm. Yeah, I did. I worked in loss mitigation and default services, and so we would have people who would call in and they were like, "Hey, I've been paying," and I don't know if you can clear this up. It might be too legal of advice, but in situations where we're having people now doing these COVID, you got some
mhm.
people who are seeing the foreclosure sales kind of coming back into place. In a situation where a tenant is renting, and they're paying that landlord money, we would have people saying, well, do I still have to pay them rent when the home is going up for foreclosure sale?
But and what do you say?
We would tell them, yes, that you do,
Right.
until this person owns the house, until it goes up for sale. But we would have people who are like, can you tell me if it's going up? And we couldn't tell them it was going up for foreclosure sale, because that wasn't for us to, it's public record, but we as the attorney could not let you know that,
Right.
just because you live there and things.
Right.
But yeah, and so that's something else, guys, that you got to keep in mind. I even would tell, it got to the point so bad. This is, of course, in 2007, 2008, when it was really bad. I was not an agent then. Let me give my disclaimer. I was not an agent then.
Right.
Where I would have people, just like, hey, just put your address in, because it was public record. The person has been served, or if there was a sale coming up, it is record. And so I would just say, just put your address in. But
Right.
we have that a lot, where people honestly just didn't know, and the landlord was still collecting, and they were going up for foreclosure sale.
And remember, it's not you can go up for foreclosure sale, but it's not real. But it hasn't sold yet. And then after it's sold, you have another year to redeem if it's for taxes. Remember, so the
Yes.
landlord can continue and will continue to accept your payment while it's up for foreclosure. Sometimes if foreclosure doesn't go through, I mean, it's sold for foreclosure, but the true owner comes back and pays the money that's needed. That happens quite a bit. And
Okay.
those cases that I've and by the way, as this has nothing to do with landlord tenant, I had a case recently with home. I'm just throwing this in, Angelina. Homeowners association, homeowner associations can put a lien on your property and take your property. And hopefully
Yeah.
you'll have Joe Strickland in one day, because I was sitting in his court, and those folks from homeowners association were taking big, beautiful houses right and left because they didn't pay their homeowner association fees.
It was
And
selling the notes. I remember that too. And they were selling the notes. And even if your mortgage is paid for, guys, they can still foreclose on your property, even if it's paid for.
yeah.
Okay, Attorney Abigail, we might have, that's another one that we're going to have to come back and talk about. But we actually have a question from someone. So one of the questions is, and I can the question is, if you have a clause that limits overnight guests for a limited period of time, how do you clearly verify that to be a legal standard?
Okay, if it's in the lease, if I understand the question correctly, if it's in the lease that you can have overnight guests for 3 days, it's the lease, and that is what the landlord is telling you that he wants you. So you may be asking, how do you prove it? The landlords will drive by and look at that truck or car that's in around your place. They will spy on you. It's their property. It's their right to keep up with what's going on in their property. So in essence, they are looking at the property, and they have neighbors out. They're also watching you that will report to the landlord. So if you signed that lease and you understood that you couldn't have overnight guests, you can't come later and say it's illegal, because it's a part of your lease. Did I answer the question?
If you can, Mr. Carter, let us know if that's the answer, that we answered the question properly. If not, just go ahead and just put it back in the chat if we need to clarify some more. And you're right, people don't understand that you do have that, because we would have people with, he said thank you. He said thank you. So yes, ma'am, we answered this question. We would have people, when we was managing property, tell us what was going on. I mean, even when I list properties, guys, if you don't think the neighbors not paying attention what's going on, the neighbors are paying attention to what is happening at that house. I can have
Yes.
a home and a neighbor can tell, hey, just want to let you know this people came over there. And here's the thing. More likely, if you got somebody that's staying and not supposed to be there, they're probably not the best person. And therefore, it's already irritating that neighbor. So they're definitely are paying attention, because it's more like that person parking the grass.
That's right. Can't do that.
And so therefore, you're going to bring awareness to that neighbor. And yes, that neighbor, even if that person's out of town, guys, the tax bill has the address of where the out-of-town landlord is at. All the person has to do is send them a letter if they don't already have their phone number.
And that happens,
You know?
y'all. It
It happens quite
and
a
you
lot.
can't. And don't play the music loud. That y'all, because the neighbors are gonna call the landlords and the police.
Exactly. And so, is there anything else as far as with what are common legal issues that landlords face, and how can they avoid them?
That's a good question. One common legal issue that is not apparent to everyone is when you have property in the city of Columbia and you're the landlord, then you are responsible for any cars in the yard. That's why I thought about it, Angelina. Trash in the yard, lawn care, because the city has code enforcement. Now, code enforcement is a part of the police department. And when your neighbors call code enforcement, or code enforcement drives through the area and sees that you have cars on your property, landlords, which aren't registered cars, landlords, you get the ticket. If they find graffiti on the walls of the garage, that happened to me, y'all, or trash in the yard, landlords, you are responsible. The code enforcement does not want to hear, well, you see, that's my tenant. No, code enforcement is going to tell you, you need to get it straight. Foreign cars in the yard with no taxes, no tags, excuse me, with taxes not being paid on the cars in the yard, trash, dogs not being on leash. These are ordinances in the city that you must abide by. County is different. So we had property, my clients had property where the tenants would fix cars in the yard, and code enforcement said, oh no, not here. And they were parking in the yard, in the front yard. Not here. So the man moved out because you can't do that in the city of Columbia. So that's one legal issue that is common that some landlords don't understand will happen when you're in the city. The
And
next,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to stop you.
No, I was just going to tell people also, the city guys downtown. There are a lot of areas that you think may not be considered the city of Columbia, and it is. You might think, oh, this is the rural area, like areas out in Hopkins that you would think is the county, but it falls under the city of Columbia. So you definitely want to make sure you pay attention at landlords for all the properties you may have or that you want to have. Okay, go ahead. Right. I'm sorry.
Okay, I mean, and when your tenants, landlords, have dogs, and the dogs, and you allow them to have the dogs, this is not legal advice. This is Abigail advice. Be careful of your tenants with pit bulls and Rockwilders. Okay, that's my advice. The law didn't say this, because when the pits and the Rockwilders get loose and they attack, well, those neighbors are not suing the tenants, landlords. They are suing the landlords there. And so the landlord says, it's my tenant's dog. No, Mr. Landlord, that's your problem. So these are actual, what I'm telling you is actual cases. These are actual events where the landlord had to be responsible for the dog going and attacking a little girl down the street because he didn't keep up with what the tenant was doing there. That's a problem. And
it's prohibit certain dog breeds too, as well. So if you're home HOA, you need to make sure you pay attention to those covenants and restrictions, because they may also have what type of breeds are prohibited in that subdivision, which is another thing that will get you in trouble with the HOA too, as well, with those
Absolutely.
things. Oh my goodness.
Some of the HOAs a few years ago represented don't want public housing Section 8 residents. It's their prerogative. So it was a big fight, because in those days when it was the housing bubble, Angelina, and people could not keep up with their houses. So they would move to smaller houses and leave the big houses and then tell Section 8, I got a big house. But the HOAs and neighbors said, no, not here. And that means that it's a part of your covenant HOA. They will tell you not here. And there's nothing you can do about it. So you can't have Section 8 in your house. And there are Section 8 brings with it certain requirements. So if you as a landlord want to accept Section 8 residents, then you must know the rules and regulations of Section 8 on top of the lease, on top of everything else. It seems like quick money and easy money, but it's not. So I'm slowing down in case somebody has a question about it.
Oh no, you're fine.
Okay.
And also too, some HOAs don't even allow rentals in the
No,
property.
that's right. That's
And
right.
you know, that's something that you got to keep in mind if you have a house currently that you think about turning. We do have a question. You must know the question's coming up. We have another question. Are there are there any ways to pass along liability to the tenant on issues like dogs in city code enforcement?
Not and not that I'm giving legal advice, not that I know of, because Mr. Mrs. Landlord, you are the owner of the property. And since you are the owner of the property, it is your property is your responsibility. Now, in the lease, you can put all kinds of terms and provisions to try and protect yourself. But if something goes awry, it's like the parent and the child. They're going to call the parent in. This is what your child did, and oftentimes that's what's happening with the landlord and the tenant. Landlord, you are responsible, and I do, Angelina, advise landlords to get insurance on the houses. Get your against fire, against damage, all kinds of things can happen. Don't just because it's rental property, I'm not going to insure it. My advice is to get insurance there.
Exactly. I want to get stuff that you probably would normally have on your regular home because anything can happen in there that you didn't expect to happen. It can happen.
The child can set a fire in your property,
Yeah.
and there it burns, and you have no insurance, Mr. Landlord. You just lost the house there. The other thing, Angelina, you were asking me about legal issues I see. It's about when we as African Americans, and I don't want to assume that your audience is strictly African Americans, but let's just say those trying to build um, generational wealth. Okay. And when we're building generational wealth, and these are real cases that I had, oftentimes folks will say, I'm going to leave my property to my children because God is not building any more land. So land is important. So when you want to build generational wealth and you want to leave it to the children, which is one of my cases, and then you die and go to heaven, your children cannot afford the house. Even if the mortgage is paid on it, there are taxes of the house, and the taxes will go up. If the children cannot pay the taxes, then there goes the generational wealth because they can't afford it. Or maintenance. If the children and grandchildren cannot control the maintenance or do the maintenance on the property, there goes the property. And that's the saddest for me when I do estate planning is I know what the mothers and fathers and grandmothers and grandfathers intended, but then I'm here watching that the houses just go into hands of those that grandmothers and grandfathers didn't want. And then if you don't probate, I just threw something in there, then it becomes heir property. So that one house, and I know I'm supposed to be doing landlord tenant, but it deals with houses, Angelina. So that one house that the grandmother was passing down, the estate wasn't probated. So now about 15 cousins own that house there. So that's why I always tell people, why you own property, get a will, get your stuff in order. But I threw that in there. That could be another one, but I just
No
thought I'd
problem.
throw
And look, if one don't want to stay there for free.
it. Right.
Don't forget that. We deal with that a lot. That's another topic. Somebody always wants to stay in grandmama's house for free.
For free.
And then the
And
14 because they got to pay where they stay in.
right. And they don't want to pay anything. They just and they don't. This is a case where they won't even get it out of grandmama's name. So you living in a house for Miss Clara. Miss Clara died 30 years ago, but I don't want to put it in my name because I pay child support and they might come after the house. But you live in that just makes no sense to me. I'll pay the taxes, so the tax folk think Miss Clara is alive, and while Ray Ray is staying in the house. This happened. I'm talking actual cases, Angelina,
Cases.
actual cases there.
And guys,
And
another disclaimer. This is legal advice. We are going over actual cases that have happened. Should you want
right.
to retain Attorney Rogers, I will put her information at the end of the segment for you to be able to reach out to her. or myself, because I can put your email up, correct? The email.
Sure. And if you want consultation, it's not free, but I will be able
Yeah.
to consult and have a long talk with you. It's not free though, not free. But while I'm
Yeah.
on the legal issues, as you said, Angelita, I've talked with you about this. We have a rising problem with squatters. Oh, let's talk about squatters a minute.
Yes,
And
I want to.
if you listen to the news, you would hear, I forgot what state it was in, where one of the Hispanics was giving out information on how to be a squatter, how to find the house and then move in the house and then live in the house. And the law enforcement saw the article that he was sending out to people, and so they arrested him. And so he's in prison. But when you have a house, this is for everyone who owns a house in your audience. When you have a house, you can't just not check on the house. You can't just not check on land. I got land over here. I'll check on it one day, because you're running the risk of a squatter, a person who will move in your house, a person who will move onto your land. Now, the law allows squatters, if you don't check on your property, the squatters can take your property. People would say, oh, no. Oh, yes. If they're there for a long period of time, people think that that's their property, out holding it out to the public that that's their property, and it's a certain period of time, and you, owner, didn't go and check on it, they will then say, now it's my property. And you go to court, and the judge would say, why didn't you check on it? And what, you just didn't. But I have a case now with the squatter where the tenant was there and the tenant had a boyfriend. So the tenant was evicted and the boyfriend stayed. So that means the eviction won't fit the boyfriend. So the boyfriend is living large in the house there. So then you have to, but this person, the owner, is on top of it. So you got to get the squatter out. And that takes a procedure too, because squatters and criminals are very smart, Angelina. A lot of us try to do the right thing and we're doing good, but criminals have a different mindset from my days as a solicitor. Criminals are smart. Some people don't mean well to you. They know exactly how to beat the system there. So I'll stop talking.
No, but you're right, because I had a situation with the file. This was this years ago, where the tenant knew how to beat the system as far as the eviction, and
Right.
it didn't matter how many times that landlord went. That person knew exactly how to beat it, and kept getting continuous after continuous after continuous after continuous.
And
and we were working on the short side. They were there majority of the time. It took for me to do the short sale because they kept getting a continuous, and that's something that people don't think about. And even guys, if you have like the houses, vacant properties, because we got a lot of people have vacant properties, and we would come up against this all the time. When my husband and I, we had to go by because there were a lot of squatters in these vacant properties. And guys, we're getting into the winter months. This is when we see a lot of squatters taking over in these vacant homes. So if you have a vacant property, if you got the property, you're like, hey, I just got it for tax purposes. I don't have anybody in. I'll get somebody in there another time. Please, guys, if you don't hear anything else from Attorney General, not Attorney General, Attorney Rogers and myself, please check on your property. And if you see any signs of a squatter, you may see a mattress, we would see sheets, we would see trash bags. And that's another reason why you want your properties cleared out before you vacate them, because you can sometimes see those things. They may not be there when you go in the property, but they're probably coming back. But you need to make sure you check on that, because again, I got it on the screen. Squatters can take over your property. They can take it over.
They can take the ownership.
So they literally can take over the ownership of the home, even if it's paid for and everything. They can just take the house, and now this is their home. Oh my goodness.
There's some things the law requires them to do, but squatters will do it naturally. Put it out to the public that this is your home. So the squatter is living there all out in public, and you, owner, you're not seeing it, but the people are thinking, oh, the squatter lives there. The squatter will be there. The house is there for a long period of time. And
Okay.
here you are not checking on it. There's certain things the law puts in place that says, the squatter did all this and you didn't come look at the property. Now squatter says, now it's my property because I lived here all this time and my neighbors think it's mine and she didn't do anything to come get the property and legally it's mine now, and he goes to court to take it. Yeah. So you have some time to get in there and try to get them out. I would say call the police, start checking on it, and start looking and making police reports. My brother and I inherited some property from my mother in Lawrence. My brother and I went to check on it, and there is like a the hunters put up where they shoot deer. There is a huge little stand where hunters have been there shooting deer. And my brother and I looked up there and they said, it's our fault. Our fault because we had gone a year or two and not checked the property. But then the deer stand came down and we got in touch with them and they said to us, well, nobody was on the property. Nobody came to look at the property. So we just made ourselves at home there.
And we got to say, watch your utility bill too, to see if somebody may have utility bills that's going up, to see if you see a change in that bill if somebody's staying there.
Exactly. You cut the electricity off. If you're not in there, somebody's not in there, cut the electricity off. Cut the water off in there because they will. But you know what? Sometimes they'll go and connect it to the neighbor and take the electricity and water from the neighbor. But you do your part and take it off and cut it.
You see that long extension cord across? Yeah, and if you have a water key, I have a water key. I have a water key that you can be able to certain things because we've had to do that. But you do have that. And back in the day, we don't talk about this now, but you would see the cable cord too across. You would see the extension cord and the cable cord of everything on there. You sure would. Those are things you.
This is true stuff. It sounds ridiculous, tell them, Angelina, but this is true stuff.
It is. It really is. And so the other thing is, and this is something else that people don't think of as being landlords. In regards to the South Carolina Fair Housing Laws,
mm-hmm.
A lot of times people think it's only in regards to ethnicity, but there's so much other things that you can do to violate these South Carolina Fair Housing Laws. Can you talk about a little bit about that briefly?
Yes, I can talk a little bit. The way I do the fair housing laws is I think about it as the law. You can't discriminate. It's just like you are in real life. You can't discriminate against children. You can't say, oh, how many children you got? Oh, that's too many children. I just don't want them on my property. You may feel that way. But y'all, you can't say to them you got too many children. And you can't say, I just don't want no Hispanic and Mexicans in my property. I don't mean no harm. Y'all, everybody, you can't do that. You just like they can't say that you don't, I don't want any Black people here. You can't say I don't want any Hispanics here. You cannot discriminate with housing. You can't discriminate against the disabled either. If they're disabled, oh no, you're disabled. I can't handle. I'm not going to do that. You can't do that. That's the basic of you can't discriminate with fair housing, and you just can't put your tenant in any danger either. If you know that house is a danger, you can't put the tenant there knowing that it's a danger. So those are just high points of cases that I've dealt with. That you have to be fair, just like we expect people to be fair to us. You have to be fair to your tenants. Yeah.
And guys, you have to be careful too, because she's saying the things that people don't want. You may say, hey, I would love to get a single mother in here in this rental property. But guess what? You violate the fair housing laws just by saying that. Here it is, you're thinking, oh, I want to get this single parent in here. But you saying that or advertising that, you have violated the South Carolina Fair Housing Laws, because you cannot go off of their marital status, if they have children or not. You cannot do those things. And again, this is not legal advice. This is us just telling you a blanket of kind of what this is. Okay.
Right. All right. You can't say just just a little bit. You can't say I don't want two gay men living in my house, y'all. We can't say it. If the man calls and says my husband and I, and it's a man, my husband and I would like to stay there. You can't go, oh no, I haven't, y'all. We can't. My husband, women that were married went to my husband, and they said to my husband, "This is my wife," and he said, "Huh?" And I was kicking him, saying, "Please, please stop, please, huh? That's your wife." I would say, please, please. But those are just those little things that we just sort of slip out. You can't discriminate. You can't.
And it can and it may be all fun and games at first until something happens, and then
Right.
those discussions come up in court.
Oh,
That you
yeah.
or they ask for your advertisement because somebody saw it, and then it say, well, I was just trying to make sure I have somebody that had a child and giving them affordable rent, and it comes from a good place, but you're violating things. So you just got to be
Right.
careful, which is another reason why you need to hire an attorney when
Right.
it comes to these things.
Right.
Just like how you all have an attorney when you purchase the property, you need to have an attorney to help you take care of that property and manage
Yes.
that property, so you don't
Right.
have any issue.
The,
So in regards to when it comes to, and this is almost like a two-part. So what are the tenants' rights when it comes to property management and repairs? I know
okay.
that you stated that they had to have at least the heat and the
You
they
you
have to
don't
have
have to
heat.
you don't have to have air conditioning, but you have to have heat there.
Guys,
Running
hear
water.
that? You have to have air because you
You
had
don't have
people,
to.
oh, my air's not turned on. I'm not. You do not have to have air, but you have to have heat,
You have to have
running
heat, running
water,
water, and electricity.
and
And
electricity.
electricity. But landlords, my advice, and Angelina tells people this: when your tenants move in, tell the tenants to put the water and electricity in their name because it's in your name, and you will be responsible for the water and the electricity. But when you tell them as a part of moving in, you now have to take this lease and go to Dominion or City Water and get it put in your name. That's a part of it. Do that. That makes them responsible for the water and electricity, or you're going to have high bills if you leave it in your name there. Make them put it in their name. Now, the tenants are entitled to peaceful living, meaning as a landlord, we just can't go in there and say, I'm just, listen, knock, 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 I'm going to check on my property. Or early in the morning, I need to come in there. Unless the tenant calls you and says, we got a problem over here and we need emergency, landlord, you can go in. But you just can't, every place, everything I tell you, I had cases like it. You just can't stop by and say, I just want to look around. No, because usually in your lease, you will put on certain times between the hours of 8 and 5, and I'll give you 24-hour notice, I will come and inspect. Let me tell you, you need to inspect your property. If one thing, Angelina, they get anything from you and me, inspect the property, keep up with the property, look at the property, because you can get in there and you never had, excuse me, rats, mice, and roaches in your house because it's your house and it's rat free, and you get in there and a rat runs across you there, then you have a problem. And it's so the tenant then is entitled to live there without rats, roaches, and mice, and they might have brought it with them. So you've got to take care of infestation. There's a true real life cases. Anything I tell you,
Bed bugs,
this-
has bed bugs that brought us to the house, and they. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna stop laughing. But these things happen for real. They had bed bugs, and they're calling you saying we got bed bugs, and you have to do some, guys. You have to clear those bed bugs out of that house. You
right,
can't go. Well, I've never had bed bugs before. What happened? It had to be that they brought them. If they brought them with their own suitcase, guess what?
right.
You have to get rid of them because it is your
You,
property. Stay. The
you
landlord, the landlord has to get rid of them.
roach from that the tenants brought in, because the tenants are entitled to live roach free, rat free, mouse free, right? So landlords, so you have to get busy, but tenants have a right to peaceful living, not tearing up the property, not being interrupted, just because you want to look and to live rat and roach free, and that they have to abide by the terms of the lease, though.
We had someone also stated with the utilities, make the tenants bring back proof before giving them the key. That is something that we do in real estate, guys, that when we have sometimes, because we have situations where we have a lot of military families, they may come in and they need to get into the property now because they have their orders, but their loan won't close. There has been times where we'll have them occupy the property prior to closing. And so that is something that we require too. Like, hey, you got to get the utility bill in your name before you hand over the key. Guys, you want to make sure you do that. And then some places with the sewer bills, you know, your landlord can, if it's something, and correct me if I'm wrong too, Attorney Rogers, if like something like the sewer gets turned off where it can back up to the house and cause problems, that landlord has the right to reach out to you and say, hey, you have to get that sewer bill, because guys, if the sewer's not paid for, you're flushing, you're using the shower, all that drainage and things is being backed up back into the house. That causes property damage, tenants, and then you can be held liable possibly for damages to that property because you did not have the sewer bill.
That, Angelina, that's a major, and thank you for mentioning, major problem. Landlords are responsible for the sewage system if it's coming back up and there is a major problem on the property. The landlord has to spend the money to get those lines such that the sewer works well and the water flows freely. And that's a lot of money. Now, we've have cases where the tenant put something in the sewer to go ahead and mess up the sewage system. Still, it's the landlord's problem. I had to litigate very much so, where I was trying to prove the tenant caused the problem in the sewage system, but still the landlord's responsible for it. And that's a lot of money, y'all.
And so, this is kind of piggybacking off of, and we're good on time, Attorney Rogers? We're good? Okay.
Yes.
I like to always ask. This is such great information. It's hard to shorten it down, guys, but it's so good info. When it comes to landlord protecting themselves from liability and in case of damage or injury to a rental properties, what have you seen that landlords could possibly be able to do, or the benefits of having an attorney of what they can be able to do to help protect them in these cases?
Yeah. Now that's a case by case one, but I can tell you what my clients tend to do. I don't know what the landlords are doing, but you need to get a security deposit up front. You need to get one that is, I tell you, my clients do first and last month's rent and a security deposit, because my clients feel that they will have enough where if you destroy the property, then they have enough to go in and correct it. So always it's my suggestion to get a security deposit. Then it's always my suggestion that you get like last month's rent. You don't have to be as hard as some of my clients and get first and last month's rent, but at the end, they may walk out on you, but then you'll have that amount also, and they'll may destroy the property. Well, you will have that security deposit that should be able to help you. Now, my clients use the actual rent. Like if the rent is $1,500, my clients will say security deposit $1,500, first and last month's rent $3,000, $4,500 to move in. Then if the person says I don't have it, then some of my clients say, okay, next, because you're protecting yourself. Where if you get clients in there and they destroy your property, you have money now that they paid up front that you say, you know what, I let me go ahead and fix the property. This is for the landlord. But you can't be, and tell them, Angelina, you can't be in such a hurry to get somebody in your property that you start just cutting corners. I'm not going to get a security deposit. I'm going to cut it in half. I don't suggest that. So that's one thing, is to get your money such that if they destroy the property, you'll have some to fix the property there.
Okay. And again, guys, for those of you all who joined in a little bit later, Attorney Rogers does assist if you have rental property and you don't know how you need to set your leases up, how to set these things up. I'm going to put her email address. I'm going to go ahead and put it up now. So that way you can reach out to her, set up to where you could be able to retain her as an attorney to get these things done. I promise you guys, when you have an attorney, because I'm going to be honest with you, as agents, we're only able to do research because, again,
Right.
this is legal, this is the law, and you want to be able to have an attorney. If you all did not hear hear her background, she is actually a former judge. So she's not just an attorney, a former judge, a former solicitor. So she
Right.
knows a little bit what she's talking about. And she could be able to assist you with this. Everybody wants to dream of getting and owning investment properties. I'll be the first one to preach that. But the main thing also is to protect your property as well.
Yes.
Don't invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into the property and then don't want to invest money in where you could be able to protect your property. Because, guys, everything he's talked about today are actual cases. Some of them have been my cases. Some of them have been others' cases. These are actual things that are happening. I know it may sound like a sitcom TV show, but I promise you these things are happening. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch bases on? I know we kind of went through our list of what was important, but if
one more thing, and Angeline, just one thing also that we deal with sometimes when you said investment property, I thought about it. Some of us want to buy investment property and it's expensive, so we'll get our friends or we'll get a partner, and then we'll put money in the pot and we'll go then buy the investment property. In this case too, then the maintenance has to come. Well, you know what? You and the friends did not get together and write out what happens, what each responsibility is. So you have a lot of investment property, Angelina, that's going down, and we'll take a look and say, what is going on here? The investors, just regular people like us, bought it, and we couldn't keep it up. The taxes, the maintenance. So if you want to join with 2 or 3 other people, get a plan and contract together and make sure you each have a meeting of the minds as to who's going to pay what and what everybody's responsibility is. Not just go get the property and go, okay, what are we going to do now? So I just wanted to add that.
I'm glad you said something about that, because those things that you don't think about. You don't think about that at all when you're going to get a property, of how everything needs to be laid out. And it may seem as if, I know we had a comment from one of saying that's just it's a lot of information. Not a lot of information, but he was saying it's too much.
Just try living it.
It's too much. It's the thing. When you own property, you think of it as this is your business.
Right.
Yes, it's a house, but this is your business. So you gotta have a business plan. Have who's going to be in charge. You got to make sure that you maintain it. You got to have, your rules in place. That's what you have to do when you decide to become a landlord and own property. And again, everything is all cordial at the beginning. They're your best friend in the beginning until something needs to be paid, and the HVAC goes out and it costs $5,000 to repair. And then everybody's looking like, well, who's going to do it? They playing music. This is what you see. Trying to sign. Pay, these things. And so what you do is you get with an attorney like Attorney Rogers to lay out those details. Like, hey, what are you going to do? Who's going to do this? Let's set aside a pot for you to put this part of the amount of rent to go in. It helps you with the full business planning. Taxes. People don't think about those property taxes for in South Carolina, the investor taxes. Yeah, you think, it only goes from 4% to 6%, but really in reality, that could go up 3 times more than what your taxes are.
Right.
So you have to prepare for those things and how that's going to be, and also how the money is divvied up at the end.
Right.
How much of the rent goes to each party. That's things we don't think about. What happens with the cash flow itself.
You end your friendship.
He was saying he went in there. He meant that too many people, too much effort to get over on people. As you are, and guys, if you don't think that those people do not know the law, they know the law just like Attorney Rogers knows the law.
Exactly.
And they will use your property, and you might think that that person doesn't know how to read, or he couldn't even sign his name. You wait until he's about to be evicted. He's gonna turn to Matlock, trying
y'all, you have seen, if you want to see some fights, try to evict some people and they haven't even paid the rent. But boy, they will fight you as if their life depends to stay in your house for free.
Yeah, they gonna turn to Matlock and what's the other term?
I'll just
Matlock and Perry Mason.
Hey, Rex and Johnny Cochran, hey, Angela, we're laughing, but let me tell you, I have to fight all out to get some of the tenants evicted who haven't paid. It's just so bizarre to me. You haven't paid, but I got a good reason, y'all. So another thing, when you try to do it yourself, the law requires that the landlord do certain things. Notice is important. So if you go and you put on the door of the tenant's door, your property, you are hereby evicted. You have 30 days to respond. If you don't pay, I'm going to go to the landlord. Then you get into court and the tenant says, I didn't see no piece of paper on the door. So the magistrate says to you, well, how do you know he got it? And you know he got the paper, but the tenant is saying, I don't know. I didn't get anything. Look, judge, you told me to come, but I don't know nothing. They get amnesia very quickly. So it's best to get an attorney. If not, then read the law and do exactly what the law says, or talk to the attorney and make sure that you're doing exactly what is required.
I'm glad you brought that up because that is something that people think about as far as with the time of an essence and the notice. And each area is different. That's what when we were talking about earlier about each magistrate and jurisdiction is different of how much notice you have to provide that tenant. And so unless you have the time to investigate that, which a lot of us don't, and it's not something that's as easily that you can Google. And not only that, even if you can't Google it, can you interpret the law?
Okay.
It's literally law that you have to interpret. It's not a step-by-step, like, do this, now do that. It's not that way. And so when I have people who are saying, hey, Angelina, and you can ask all my clients, they say, Angelina told us to call you. Because I promise you, when you get the attorney involved, she knows the law.
Right.
They're going to know exactly what to do, how to do it. It's going to come from how to phrase it. Because you got to make sure that it's phrased properly. You know, how to deliver it, how to serve it to them. You know, it's so many things that I don't think people realize that goes into having someone evicted from your property or just giving them proper notice to vacate the property.
Right.
Not just vacate, and things of that nature. So, guys, please, we want you all to keep your property. We want you to keep your sanity too, and your peace.
Yes, and not hurt anybody, and not go to jail and prison.
Yeah, we don't want you to have to hire Attorney Rogers for something else. So before he goes to go pull that tenant out the house, or before he something I want to talk about too, evicting people's items, because we have seen that as well. Whereas you have a tenant that's not left, and you wait. Okay, I know that he or she goes to work at this time. I'm just gonna go there and pull the stuff out, or change the lock myself. Can you elaborate? Not necessarily elaborate. Can you touch a little bit on that?
Yes, Angelina, we're trying to cover a whole lot, but you're absolutely right. Landlord. No, that's okay, because you're hitting the spots that I missed. You cannot go and change the locks and decide, since they didn't pay you, you can go change the locks. The law will not allow you to change the locks. You can't do that. So if you do that and they call the police, then you're going to have to put the locks back, or you're going to have to give them the key to get back in. Can't wait for them to go to work and then all of a sudden go in and break in and throw their things out. You'll end up in jail, because the law will say we have legal mechanisms in place to help you. They will evict you. And if you get evicted, the police will come. They will open up the door, or you will open up the door, and you have to get your people. It used to be this police moved them out. Not anymore. The police will be there, and then you have to have your people to take their items and throw it on the street. But you have to wait for the process. You can't do it on your own. Can't turn off the electricity, can't turn off the water, can't change the locks.
All right. Okay. I'm not gonna ask anything else, because you see, I didn't realize it was just so much to cover, and I like talking about these things because these are the things that people don't think about on a day-to-day basis. And so I want to ask, I think we've covered a lot, and I just thank you so very much, Miss
There's
Abigail.
just one thing, Angelina, I want to say about on your part. I have a client now who's tired of the house, and he said to me yesterday, and I'm still getting the people out, I'm going to go ahead and sell this house to the man who came to my house and wanted to buy the house. I said, wait a minute. Did you talk to Angelina? And said, oh no, I'm just sick of it. I just told him he could have it. Okay, what I'm suggesting, you don't just arbitrarily decide that you're gonna sell the house. That more goes into selling a house than you can possibly imagine. So
Mhm.
my thing is you talk to Angelina. If you want to sell the house, talk to her because she'll tell you, you sell that house and there are termites there. You sell that house and they fall through and the protections weren't in place. It's on you, even though you sold it. But anyway, I just thought I'd tell you that's a true story, Angelina. That happened yesterday.
Oh, thank you. Well, and people don't realize, again, guys, the same thing we're talking about. When you're selling property, obtaining property, that is business. And no
Oh,
matter
yeah.
how frustrating you may be with the property, you want to take the proper business measures of also releasing that property to make sure
Yes.
that you don't have anything that's going to come against you too. And so, again, we're not trying to just say, oh, always get somebody legally to handle it. It's all about protecting you, protecting
Right.
your assets, protecting any other future assets you may want to get. Because again, she just told you can go to jail if you just put
Right.
stuff out.
Right.
Protecting your family, what you work hard for. That's what this is all about, and that's why we're doing these segments to make people aware of what you're able to do. Let you know there's ways around it, and that the resource of a community of people that are here to assist.
Right.
So if you didn't know where to turn for an attorney, you got one right here, Attorney Rogers, that can be able to assist you. And you do not have to be. A lot of times people think they in order to reach out. Guys, I just want to be a community resource. I have her email address right here at the bottom for you, so you can be able to reach out. For those who are my clients, they tell her, I'm Angela's client, and she is also very responsive too. So, guys, Miss Abigail, thank you so very much
I
for
hope
coming
I
on.
helped.
You did an awesome job. We had people all throughout. I'm going to let you know. They said thank you for the information. We had so many people telling us thank you in regards. I'm just going to go through. We had people also telling you great evening as well. We had good info. We're having and this is why we do these things, because again, knowledge is power.
Yes.
And you don't work all hard to get these things just to have them taken away.
Absolutely.
Miss Abigail, if you would like to come, we had some other people. There's some other things. Oh, like I said, thank you so much. You're so welcome, Lawrence. You're so welcome.
I didn't give legal advice. This is just the general knowledge that hopes help. And you can call me. Right. And you can call me and we can talk. Or email call you and you'll reroute them to me.
Yes. If you need legal help, you can just email or you can contact me. I can definitely put you in touch with her in regards to some matters that weren't discussed and that you need to assist. Guys, if you need assistance, don't stop. Don't wait until later on or feel that you have to deal with this. Please let us know. Okay, there's help out here for you. Miss Abigail, I would love to have you back. You are more than welcome to come back anytime. Anything that you would ever want to discuss, let me know. You have an open invitation.
Thank you,
guys. I think. Yes, thank you. I'm glad you did. I was so happy. I told her a long time. I was like, "Hey, I want to have you on," and she made it, guys. If you didn't hear, she was affected by the storm. Unfortunately, keep her in your prayers. To where she's there with no air conditioning, still looking fabulous. Give it me.
Yes, Kathy.
So I thank you so much.
Thank
guys,
you.
Always, join us next week we do this every week in regards to our Tuesday tune-ins. They're every Tuesday live at 7 p.m. If they're pre-recorded, sometimes they have to be pre-recorded. I will let you know. But guys, if you wanted to get a recap of this is on our Deals with Angie YouTube page. You can go there. Please subscribe and share. You can go there to see all the different, all the former tenants. They're all there. So you don't have to go through my page. They're literally all there for you. Somebody said, oh, this is going into the Rolodex. I'm going to put it back up there for you, Lawrence. I got to have it. There you go. It's going to the Rolodex. Also, guys, I'm just going to go ahead and put this on as a flyer. For those of you all who are looking to find out more about purchasing a home, I just want to share this for you right quickly. We do have a fair housing expo that is going. This is going to be October the 22nd, and it is located here. And this will also be on my YouTube page too, and as well as my Facebook page, if it's for you to see the flyer. But it is October the 22nd at 1107 William Street, Columbia. That is the Girl Scouts facility. Lunch will be provided by McAllister's. They will have box lunch. I believe it'll be box, but it's going to be by McAllister's. So we're going to provide you with lunch. It's from 11 to 1. We're going to have NACA, as you see, the City of Columbia, SC Housing. We have people talking about VA loans, FHA loans. We're going to have a lot of information there along with other vendors for you to be able to find out more about housing. If you're able to come, if not, if you know somebody's looking to purchase a home, please tell them about the expo. You do not want to miss it, okay? Right. And this is being sponsored by the Central Carolina Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, all right? All right, well, again, guys, I thank you so very much. Miss Abigail, thank you. You guys have a blessed one and a great one. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.